Welcome back, True Seeker. It is Thursday, January 11th, 2024, and today and yesterday, three huge retirements in the world of football coaches. This morning is the latest. Bill Belichick out as the Patriots coach. Pete Carroll out as the Seahawks coach. And keep in mind, he used to coach the New England Patriots and the New York Jets. And of course, Bill Belichick just coached his last game with the Patriots against the Jets. And of course, all three cities, New York, New England, and Seattle, very much connected to September 11th, which is the time that Bill Belichick became the man, the New England Patriots, right after 9/11 and the Patriot Act. And then Nick Saban, also out at Alabama, who used to coach with Bill Belichick with the Cleveland Browns, who are having their greatest season in forever, only after the death of Jim Brown, something we mentioned about a decade ago. Probably won't see the Browns do anything until Jim Brown dies. And sadly, that's the way it works in these scripted leagues that are very much based on ritual and ritual sacrifice. And case in point, a lot of people died on 9/11. And then came the Patriot Act, and then came the Patriots, and then came a lot of bodies connected to Tom Brady over the years, as we've been documenting. But just think about this ritual, you guys. Watching ESPN this morning, they said that Bill Belichick and Kraft essentially decided to part ways yesterday, which was the day Saban and Carroll announced that they were leaving their teams. And then they officially announced it this morning for Belichick, January 11th, 1/11. And of course, September 11th was the day leaving 111 days left in the year. And in Gematria, New York equals 111. And we all know what happened in New York on September 11th. And then we might recall that it was right after that Drew Bledsoe was the quarterback of the Patriots. The Patriots were playing the New York Jets. He got sacked by Mo Lewis. And down went number 11, Bledsoe. Kind of like how the World Trade Centers went down that looked like a massive 11 in New York, the 11th state. But again, 9/11, Patriots, New York Jets. You take it back to 1968. Again, 1968 is when World Trade Center construction began. It's when 911 was made the national emergency dialing code. It's when the New York Jets had their only Super Bowl winning season with Broadway Joe, who guaranteed the big upset in Super Bowl III. Now you got these three coaches all connected going out together. Again, one more time. The World Trade Centers were designed by a man from Seattle. Magnuson Klemenkic Associates of Seattle helped build the World Trade Centers. Seattle, New York, Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, again, coached the New York Jets, the New England Patriots, and the Seattle Seahawks. One more time. Belichick and Nick Saban used to coach the Cleveland Browns. So anyhow, you get this announcement on 1/11, the 11th day of the year. They'll say that Belichick was the greatest coach of all time, even though everybody should see that's a total fluke because he didn't do anything once Brady left, right? Looked like the most inept coach of all time, just standing there like he did for his whole career with his cut-off hoodie, not talking to anybody, seemingly doing nothing on the sidelines. Again, this really is Belichick's legacy if you paid attention. Never really saw him interacting with anybody, just standing there alone his whole career, as the announcers would say, oh man, he's just such a great coach. And be like, what's he doing right now? Seems like he's just standing there like a statue. Again, the National Fix League, nothing but scripts by the numbers. But look at this also. From September 11th to the official announcement today, 122 days later, National Football League 122. Again, learn your gematria. It's very important to the Masons. American football is credited to Freemasonry. And then also one of the big storylines is how he won 31 games in the postseason. Well, today is 31 days before the upcoming Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl's on the 42nd day of the year, February 11th. Today's January 11th, so that's an easy count, 31 days later. Notice also how from his birthday, Belichick, April 16th to January 11th, it's his 271st day of his age, which is the 58th prime number. So they save it for today, the perfect ritual in the year of Super Bowl 58. With regards to Freemasonry, in Gematria, Freemasonry equals 58, like Rosicrucian, like Secret Society, like Solomon's Temple. Who can forget the Solomon Brothers building, the last building to fall on 9/11 in New York? That was the third building to fall. Buildings 1 and 2 were the two towers that were 110 stories tall. Yesterday was 1/10. Watching ESPN this morning, they said this agreement was pretty much made last night, and the news breaks today. But on 110, the World Trade Center is 110 stories tall. Again, you had Carroll out yesterday from Seattle. But the third building to fall, buildings 1 and 2 were 110 stories tall. Building 7 was 47 floors tall. It was the third building to fall that day. Buildings 1, 2, and 7 fell, kind of like the Pearl Harbor date, 12/7. They called 9/11 the new Pearl Harbor. Again, you had kamikaze pilots on 9/11, just like how it was a Japanese man from Seattle who designed the World Trade Centers. You know, they said kamikaze pilots from Saudi Arabia, essentially. 19 of them, and Seattle's the only city in America that has Gematria 19, and yesterday Pete Carroll stepped down on the 19 date numerology. But again, nothing but perfect rituals by the numbers, same old numbers we've talked about 1,000 times, and Belichick, he finishes his career with 302 regular season wins, plus 31 wins in the postseason for 333 total wins, and 333, interesting number. Masonry, Order, Secrecy, Federal, they all have that Gematria 33, as does Tom, his old quarterback. And he finishes with the Patriots with 266 regular season wins in the time of the 266th Pope, Pope Francis. Jesus Hominum Salvator equals 266. He finishes with 121 regular season losses and 12 in the postseason for a total of 133. Remember, football equals 133 like government equals 133. And that's noteworthy because the NFL was founded on September 17th in the year that was 133 years after the establishment of the Constitution. And again, this is the land where the capital has all Roman architecture. And what did the Romans once know? You want to control the people, the slave masses, you got to give them the bread, the theater, the circus, the Colosseum. Have no doubt that the NFL might as well be the fourth wing of the U.S. federal government. Keeps people parked right on their asses. Instead of people gathering by the hundreds of thousands in cities every weekend to protest the taxation without representation like they once did in Boston, they now congregate to watch the rigged, fixed football games that just couldn't be any more obvious. And people probably see through it if it wasn't for all the poison in their water and food. But, yeah, Bill Belichick out with 31 postseason wins 31 days before Super Bowl 58 on his 271st day of his age, the 58th prime, when again, those numbers tie to the same secret societies that these sports leagues are connected to. Freemasonry. So his 31 postseason victories are an NFL record. And for the record, 31 is the 11th prime number. Again, football is a game of 11 on 11. And here we are on the 11th day of the year. And, I was 18 when 9/11 happened, and I could see instantly how the Patriots' emergence was perfectly synced with the Patriot Act. And, again, I mean, all by the numbers, and they just couldn't make it any more obvious. But then again, most people will never catch on, even when it's explained to them. So also, just one more time, Pete Carroll stepped down yesterday. Yesterday had 19-date numerology. Seattle, we call it the 19 city, going with 9/11 and the 19 hijackers, where they couldn't find anything from the planes, but they found all 19 terrorist passports. Story is obvious to see through as the National Fix League. But what a day for Carroll to go down, and he steps down after 14 years. The word end has gematria of 23, and if you apply numerology instead, end equals 14. So these guys, they all pretty much stepped down after the 23 season at the start of 24, and in the case of Carroll, after 14 years with Seattle. Seattle Seahawks has that gematria of 43, Seattle Kraken's 43, Mariners is 43, Poseidon's 43, 43 is the 14th prime number. The Poseidon piece matters because, again, Seattle's heavily connected to the World Trade Centers. And if you didn't know this about the World Trade Centers, part of their architecture and design had the trident in it, which is the weapon of Poseidon. And that's also why the operation to kill Osama bin Laden was called Operation Neptune Spear, when Neptune in astrology is Poseidon, and Poseidon spears the trident. So they've been putting this stuff right in front of everyone's face for all of our lives. It's just they don't expect people to connect the dots. But yeah, 43 is huge in Seattle. Every sports team is 43, and it makes sense because it's the city by the sea. And you might recall on 9/11, there was a big hurricane out in the Atlantic that never made landfall, not too far out from where the World Trade Centers came down, which is interesting. There was a lot of energy that turned the World Trade Centers to dust in midair as they collapsed in free fall, perfectly into their footprint. So, old Petey, we're not going to see him chewing his bubble gum on the sidelines, chomping his jaws like a horse. Gonna miss it. But yeah, there he goes. Pete Carroll, probably an ancestor of John Carroll, who founded Georgetown in Jesuit, D.C., the Masonic city. And then Pete Carroll, out at age 72 on his 72nd day of his age. And on ESPN this morning, they're reporting his adjusted win total. You've probably seen it 15 times if you're watching ESPN. They keep putting up on the screen that he finished at Alabama with 201 wins. That's his adjusted win total because they took away 5 of the wins he had. He did also have 206 wins, but then supposedly because of the cheating in that, they took away 5 wins. So he goes down on the books officially with 201 wins, like how the World Trade Centers were once 2 before they became 0, before they became 1. And as we've educated about a million times, 72 and 201 are very important numbers to the Jesuit cabal. Also fits in with UA, Alabama, and Jewish Gematria UA is 201. But again, he's out on his 72nd day of being 72 years old. Think about Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope who became pope on the 72nd day of the year, March 13th, 2013. And again, the calendar is named after the Pope. We're on a Catholic calendar. Again, the whole way we tell time is according to the Catholic Church. They said it's the year 2024 this year. They said it's the new year on January 1st. But anyway, Pope Francis, first Jesuit Pope on the 72nd day of the year. Pope Francis, first Jesuit Pope, first to live at Suite 201 in the Vatican. So just think about who's running the show. All roads lead to Rome. And he was with Alabama for 17 years. Remember, modern Freemasonry is a Jesuit creation. Modern Freemasonry was created in the year 1717. The word Mason equals 17. And 17 is the 7th prime number. Like how the Masonic logo is the big G, the 7th letter. Nick Saban retires with 7 championships, 6 at Alabama, tying Bear Bryant. So 7 championships, 17 years, and officially 201 wins at UA, 201 wins at UA, that is right. Had even more wins than that. You count his other years that he coached, including at Louisiana. But 201 for UA, and 72nd day of being 72 years old. Again, he used to coach Cleveland with Belichick. And again, Cleveland having that very special year. It's the 104th NFL season. Jim Brown equals 104. Died just before the start of this year. Roman Catholic Church 104. Understanding these things allowed us to explain what the 10-4 alert was really about back on October 4th and why it was in Russia, where the Jesuits were saved by Catherine the Great with 201 Jesuit priests. But again, if you missed that, Russia and the U.S. had those emergency alerts on 10-4, and we explained what it had to do with 10-7 and why we should expect an act of terrorism in the world. Sure enough, it came in Israel, the 201 nation. But, just everything, treated as a coincidence. Nobody looking for the ritual. The guys in the suits on ESPN talking about how great these guys are, how amazing they are, how no one will repeat ever what they did. It's like these guys didn't do anything. You know, Nick Saban, father dead at a young age in a ritual, as we covered many years ago, probably when he was chosen back then to be this great college football coach. Remember, poor Bear Bryant, dead on the 26th day of the year. Bear equals 26 like Bryant in 83 when football's 83 like murder. Then Kobe dies on the same day in history while the Pope's 83. And again, there's a deeper riddle to that because Kobe died while traveling from Catholic Mass at age 41 on the Pope's 41st day of his age when Kobe Bryant's 41 and LA's 41. And again, the 83 thing goes back to Kobe being 4 years old at the time in 83 when Philadelphia's home city won the championship and Moses Malone was the big star who said faux, faux, faux. And back then he'd just done the Nike ad holding the staff like Moses in the Bible from Exodus 4, where his staff gets turned into a snake, and then Kobe grows up to be a basketball star and gets named the Black Mamba after a snake. And then Moses Malone's dead 4 years before Kobe, dead 213 days before Kobe's last game in the 2-1-3, a few years before the Rams win the Super Bowl on 2-1-3. Again, all this stuff is one big sick joke. Scripted joke by the numbers. Couldn't be any more obvious. 24 years for Belichick with the Patriots. Out after 24 seasons. You know, his old quarterback Brady. He just saw his school win the championship after Michigan beat Alabama in overtime on the 24th anniversary of Brady doing the same thing. And by the way, just the whole New York piece of this, remember, Brady and Belichick's kryptonite was the New York Giants. You know, just couldn't beat the New York Giants in the Super Bowl. So, New York, 9/11, Patriots, Patriot Act, riddles, rituals, scripted outcomes. Belichick with 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots. Saban with 6 championships with Alabama. And let's not forget, Saban won his 6th championship at age 66, 666, in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And then the next year, Belichick won his 6th championship at age 66 in the same stadium. Oh, man. Pete Carroll won the Seahawks their only Super Bowl in Super Bowl 48 in New York, or at least in the New York Stadium. It's actually in New Jersey in the 201 area code, but it's where the Giants and Jets play. And Seahawks equals 48, and Seattle Seahawks is 43, and they scored 43 points in that Super Bowl. They won. What'd they win? 43-8. Game started with a safety, is that right? Is that the game where they snapped the ball through the back of the end zone to start? I think it is. Oh, man. The Bad News Bears made it to the Super Bowl to face the Seahawks that year, so. All right, but yeah, those are the main points. Keep this one relatively short. Thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. And until next time, Truth Seeker.